Today is about writing linear equations. You're going to be writing them in a couple different equations. One of them is slope-intercept form. You actually had a problem like this on your homework yesterday. And I wasn't going to count that against you if you got it wrong. I want to see who could do it because I wanted to see who is going to do fine with this lesson and who would maybe struggle because they didn't remember certain things. So I'm going to use yesterday's homework for today. It was kind of a preview. It asked you, it was like question 36 or whatever, B or C, and it said write it in slope-intercept form. And you had to take the slope they gave you and then you put the y-intercept and plug it in the equation. That's what you're going to do today. Here it says write an equation in slope-intercept form. They tell you your m, they tell you your y-intercept, which is your b. All you got to do is plug it into this equation right here, y equals mx plus b. So I replace m with 1/2. I replace b with -5. There's my answer. The x and y's don't change. You just leave them. Okay? The only thing that is being added is your m and your b. Okay? Any questions how to do that? All right, write those two things down. So here they tell you write in slope-intercept form. They tell you what your m is. They tell you what your y-intercept is. Let's go with Alan. What am I going to write?
Y equals 2 plus, or 2x plus.
There you go. Right? He just replaced m with 2 and 1/3 with b, and there's your answer. All right, what you need to do is write down the problem, write an equation in slope-intercept form, and you need to draw this graph. You can use the graph paper from yesterday, or you can just hand draw this real quick graph that looks just like this. And because instead of being told what your slope and y-intercept is, you have to find it on and figure out what it is based off of a graph. Write an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay? What you need to do is you need to identify m, you need to identify b, and then plug them into slope-intercept form. What would be my b, Camden? What is b? Like some people still forget what b stands for.
It's the y-intercept.
The y-intercept. What is the y-intercept of this graph?
3.
It's 3. It crosses the y-axis at 3. Kurt, how would I find my slope? What could I do?
You can.
Well, if they give you 2 dots on a graph, they've already done half the work for you. You just need to figure out where it crosses and put those 2. Now, the next slide we're going to do only has 1 point, so you got to figure out what the their point is. But here they already give you the 2 points. So how would I figure out my slope, which I need to define as rise over run? Right? What would be my rise if I'm going from the left point to the right point? What would be my rise? How far up or down do I go?
Still on me?
Yeah.
-5.
I go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. So my rise is -5. What would be my run? 4. So that's my slope. -5 over 4. Now I just plug it in the equation. Y equals William, what's my formula? What's my equation?
Y equals -5.
What? What else?
Do you have any hints?
Do what?
Do you have any hints?
Well, this is the 3rd problem we've done. So look back into the 2 problems before it. Maybe that would be a hint. What would we do on those problems?
You did some sort of mathematical equation.
Yeah, it's slope-intercept form. What is the parent function? What is the base function that we learned yesterday with slope-intercept form? Do you remember what it was? Well, we wrote it down in today's notes, but it was also yesterday's notes. Instead of times, you mean x?
Yeah.
Yeah, x is the variable, not a multiplication symbol. Okay, and then what?
one would be 3
Plus 3.
plus 3.
Right? It's positive, so I write plus 3. If it's negative, I write minus 3. Right? That's all you do. It's fill in the blank. Not very hard. Here's your parent function, in case you don't remember. Y equals mx plus b. William, what are the only two things you plug in there?
Negative 5
Okay, you plug in m and you plug in your b, right? The rest just stay as y equals mx plus b, right? Y stays, x stays. All you do is you figure out what your m and b are and plug them in. Not hard. You don't have to draw this one, but pay attention. Let's just do another one. Here they only give me one dot. You can pick wherever as long as it crosses, right? This right here would be a point to work off of. Or you could go here. You could even go here. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same fraction. If you go from here to up here, it'll just reduce. But it doesn't matter what 2 points you pick. You just have to figure out what is my rise and my run. So if I'm figuring out m, rise over run, what would be my rise, Alan? To go from... Yes, ma'am. All right, so instead of Alan, Jaden, won't you from here to here, what would be my rise? Up 2 over 1. Which I could write as a fraction or I could reduce it. What do I got to reduce it to? Is there another way I could write 2 over 1? 2. 2. Okay. 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1. Now I need to find my b. Tyler, what would be my b?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. So, Brittany, what would be my equation? Y equals 2x. You can write plus negative 4. You can just write minus 4. It's the same thing. I won't count it wrong if you write plus minus 4. Hey, it's the same thing. Okay? Usually, when you have a plus and a minus side by side, the minus is going to win out. Okay? So, it doesn't matter how you write it, but that's your answer. Good. All right, now there's one other form they're going to use today. It's called point-slope form. So you need to write this down. This is the parent function. This is the parent equation. This is what everything's based off of. It's slightly different from slope-intercept form. It's harder to read. Like if they write it in point-slope form, it's a little bit harder to put on a graph. Slope-intercept form is really easy. You find the number by itself, and then you look at the slope, and you go from there. Point-slope form is a little bit harder to graph, but it's easier to write. Right? Slope-intercept form, if they tell you what the slope in the y-intercept form is, it's easy to write. But if they tell you what they're going to tell you on the next slide, which is just tell you what 2 points are, there's a little bit more work involved than if you were just doing point-slope form. Point-slope form, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All you got to do is plug in y1, m, and x1, and you're done. A lot easier to do than if you were trying to figure out what it is in slope-intercept form. So it's easier to write, but harder to graph. So here's what the problems are going to look like. Write this down. Find an equation of a line that passes through negative 2, 5 and 4, 8. They want it in slope-intercept or point-slope form. If they give you 2 points, you can put it in point-slope form. There's actually going to be 2 different answers. I'm going to show you both. We'll take either one. The one thing you got to do to solve this, the only work you really got to do is you got to figure out what m is. Which m stands for what, Kendall?
Y-intercept? Wait,
The other one.
the slope.
The slope. M is your slope. Do you remember how you find slope? What's the formula we use?
Rise over run.
Okay, rise over run, that's how it's defined. What was the equation, the formula I gave you on Monday to find slope from 2 points?
Y equals mx plus b.
No, that's slope-intercept form. There was a formula that we learned on Monday. You remember?
No.
No. Tyler, can you help her?
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
You remember that? Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Good. All right, remember that now?
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, if they give you 2 points, that's how you find slope. All right, that's why we learned it on Monday. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what is the slope based off this. So which do you want to be the first point? Which one do you want to be a second point? Kendall, you pick.
X2 can be -2.
Okay, so she says the first one they give us, -2, 5, is going to be x2. What's 5 going to be?
Y2.
Y2. Hey, make sure you write out the people that missed. I noticed what they missed on Monday was they didn't write out the 2 points, the 2 coordinates, and then they didn't label. Do that. There's no excuse not to. So 4 would be what?
X1.
And 8 would be?
Y1.
Good. So now plug it in. What would go for y2? Or just read off the equation to me. What would it be?
5 minus 8 over -2 minus 4.
Good. Okay. 5 minus 8 over -2 minus 4. 5 minus 8 would be?
-3.
-3. -2 minus 4 would be?
-6.
-6. Okay. 2 negatives make a positive. So 3, 6 would reduce down to? 1/2. Good. So that's your slope. It means it goes up 1 over 2 every time. All right. Now, if she had flipped those ordered pairs and went with -2, 5 as x1, y1, and so forth, would she have gotten a different answer?
No.
No, she would have got the same numbers. Right? That's all. That's the reason why it works. Right. Now, you've got to plug it into this point slope form, which everybody needs to write out what this is. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So tell me what this looks like, Leah.
I don't know.
Plug in. We've done all the work. All you got to do is plug it in. It's now just a fill in the blank type deal. So I'll start off for you. Y minus what?
5.
Okay, you can do 5 or you can do 8. Right? But if you do 5, you got to do -2 for x. Okay, for x1. Right? If you did, like Kendall will want to say 8 because that's the one she picked for y1, right? Right? But you don't have to. You can pick either point. So y minus 5 is equal to what?
A half.
Half, parentheses x, and then what?
Minus 8.
No, x, this should be, sorry, that should be x1. It looked like y1, it should have been x1.
-4.
Well, you went with 5, right?
Yeah.
So what is your x1 got to be?
8.
Your x1?
-2.
-2, right? If you make this y1, you got to make this x1, okay? That's why I label, and you can just go, you could have went with 8 here and 4 here. Either way, you're going to get the same number, or same answer. So -2, I make those positive. There's your answer. Now, if Kendall went with the numbers she started with, she would have got this. Y minus 8 is equal to 1/2 x minus 4. That's an acceptable answer too. And the reason why is if I was to solve both of these into slope-intercept form, where I was to solve for y, if I was to work out everything, like if I was to distribute the 1/2 and then add 5, and then I distribute the 1/2 and add 8, you get the exact same thing. Okay? That's why either one of these work. All right? So the only thing you got to do for point slope form is find your m, and then it's just a fill in the blank. Any questions? All right, let's do one more. Write down those two ordered pairs, 3, 0 and 6, -3. Find an equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. Alan, tell me what I'm going to do. Okay, plug in write out the formula for m, for your slope. All right, Alan, so which one's x1, y1, and which one's x2, y2? What do you want to go with? 3 would be what? 3? Is that an x coordinate or a y coordinate? 3 would be an x coordinate, right? The first number is always the x. So that would be, you want that x1 or y or x2?
X1.
All right. x1, so 0 would be?
X2. Or Y1.
It's y1, right? X and y go together. Okay. So 6 would be what?
X2.
x2, and negative 3 would be what?
Y2.
And y2. Good. Jaden, figure it out. What do I do?
Is that negative 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
For y2 minus y1.
What and what one? Y2 you said was negative 3. What's y1?
0.
Y1 or yep 0 over. Now what? What do I put?
6 minus 3.
6 minus 3. Good. Negative 3 minus 0 is negative 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. What does that reduce to, Jaden?
Negative 1 over 1.
Negative 1 over 1, which is the same thing as negative 1. Good. All right. Sierra, where do I go from here? What is the original equation? What is the original point slope form?
Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1.
Okay. Now fill in the blank. That's all it is from here on. Fill in the blank. Y minus what?
Negative 3.
Okay, y minus negative 3, so I make sure, because I'm going to end up making those positive, right? Two negatives make positive. Equals, what's my m?
Negative 1 over 1.
Or same thing as negative 1, right? And then x minus what? Six. You cannot go with 3 if you picked negative 3 as your y. You have to go with the corresponding x, which would be 6. Right? And you don't have to work anything out. This is your answer. Okay, good. Now, if you went with the other one, I'll just write it out so you can see it. You would have y minus 0 equals negative 1 times x minus 3. Right? And they would probably just get rid of the y minus 0 and just write y equals negative 1 times x minus 3. Same thing, because if you work them both out, you'll get the same thing. All right? Any questions how to do that? Okay, good. All right, here's your homework assignment for today.